Hey everyone, this is a video to show you some of the cool new features that you have access to in Schoology Assessment. And so normally you would create your assessments within your Schoology course, but there's actually a more efficient way to create those assessment type questions in your resource. So the first thing I'm going to do is navigate to my resource by clicking on resources here. It'll take you to your personal resource section, and from there there's an option under add resources to add an item bank. And so what I encourage teachers to do is to build their questions in their item bank, because then that allows them to take those individual questions and pull them as many as they want into an assessment in their course when they're ready for that. When you build an assessment in your course, you're tied to those questions you created there. You can't really separate them and reuse them separately. But if you build an item bank, then each individual question can be used in any other assessment at any other time. And so I think that's the most efficient way to create your assessments, is in the item bank. And so you can see I have one created here. I created this for the new STAR item types. And so once you create your folder, you'll notice here it looks a little different than when you create an assessment in your Schoology course. You don't have all the setup features and directions and things like that. It's just simply a list of the questions, and then you're just building all of your questions here. Okay, and so some of the question types that I want to share with you, just so you get an idea of the possibility and the cool things that you can do, is there's the highlight hotspot, the label image. I'm going to show you the fill in the blank drop down as well as the blank text. And so those are the ones that I wanted to share with you real quick, just so you can see what you can do. These are all STAR release questions that I've turned into Schoology assessment questions. And so when we click on this one, this is the highlight hotspot, which is one of the better ones that I like to use, especially for STAR release type questions, because now I can take the question and then the options that are given to them through STAR, but then I create like a highlight over each of these options, right? And so then the student would just select which of those 4 options is the right answer, and then below that is where you, the teacher, would select which one of those 4 is correct. Then down at the bottom you add your learning objectives. There's also an option to have multiple responses, so if it's one of those question types where there's more than one right answer, you could choose to have that, and then you just click to save that. Okay, and so that's one of the features. On all these question types that I'm sharing here, there are videos and resources to walk you through how to do each one individually. I'm just going to give you kind of an overview. The label image one is nice too, because then you could take a picture of really anything, any kind of JPEG that you have. And on this one, it's of a timeline from the test. And so you're trying to label it here, and you draw the box in of where you want it to be, and then the student would drag these options to fill in this timeline. And so this is the label image. And then down here is where you would put in which correct one fits that timeline. Again, you could put in your learning objectives. You can give credit for exact match, partial match. It's all up to you. You have a lot of different options, as well as duplicate responses. There might be more than one right answer. And then you just click save. This is one I really like, because it's how you would allow a student to graph something, right? And so in this one, the image you might put up there is of a coordinate grid, right? You upload an image of a coordinate grid, and then the student would use these different colors to try to graph this equation. And so then they would use their trackpad to kind of draw and graph that. And so that's a really cool way to get kind of feedback there. But it could really be any image, and they could be writing on any kind of image, highlighting, underlying text in an image. It could be anything you want it to do. And so you build your images or your question types here, right? All the ones that you want to use, and you can use them multiple times. And so then when you go to your course, which is where I am now, and you go to add your assessment, so here we'll just give it a name for practice, give it a category, we'll leave it ungraded for now, and then create. Here you're going to get all those other options for your assessment. You're going to get the option for directions and the general setup, where you can put instructions for the whole test, personalize what you want that test to be. Is there a time limit? Do you want the questions to be randomly ordered so they're not the same for every student? Is it the same? Show the possible points so that students can see the points available for each question, the different types of toolbars that you're going to have available to them, and so you can make that available. Do you want them to have a calculator or a ruler? These are all things you can do during the setup of the assessment, and then just make sure you click save when you make the changes. So there's a lot of good things you could do there. And then the questions is where you would go to add your question types. Now, since we created an item bank, we don't have to create our questions here. We just go to add from item bank. Now, we created these in our personal resources, but if you are creating, you can create these in groups that you might be sharing with your department or grade level, and so you would have access to the ones that are created there as well, so they can be collaborative. And then it's in my home, and then I have them in the star new item types, and so now I can select all of them or some of them, and then click to add the items that I want, and then those items are added to my test and my assessment here. And so I can further edit them if I need to, or make changes, randomize them here. And so once you're done, then you can go back here and see that practice test is in here, and it's going to have those questions in there. But I do think it's important and better to build your questions in your personal resources and add them to a folder, and you can create folders for your different units or however you want to organize that, and you can even create them in your groups, and that way they're collaborative, right? So you can have a group and create item banks in your group and those resources there, and that way every teacher in your grade level or department has access to those, and it's just going to make it much easier to continue to build your Schoology assessments in the future.